Hello my dears, welcome back to another video. A lot of Gen Z women or Gen Z women are having a lot of cosmetic procedures as well as plastic surgery compared to previous generations, and this is something that I found really interesting because I would really like to understand why this trend is happening. And so essentially within this video I'm just going to discuss all the different reasons as to why I think it could potentially be happening. So I think one of the biggest reasons why Zoomers in particular are having a lot more plastic surgery than previous generations is because of social media. When you really think about it, like older generations would have only seen celebrities and stuff in magazines or television, whereas because of social media we have access to celebrities as well as our peers a lot more than previous generations did. And because of all these filters and all of these like things like Facetune, and there's a whole bunch of different apps that allow you to edit your face or edit your body or just generally just edit yourself in any way that you want to fix imperfections, it definitely must be having an effect on young people in terms of how they view themselves if they keep seeing these seemingly perfect people online, even if that's not necessarily how they actually look. And because people have access to all of these different apps now where they can change imperfections and alter their appearance to look more desirable or to look more perfect, it definitely has increased the standard, I guess, that a lot of people feel they have to achieve in terms of how they look. And I can see how it's probably put a lot of pressure on particularly young girls to want to aspire for these more perfect looking versions of themselves. And so I do think that this is probably contributing a lot to the massive appeal of plastic surgery or cosmetic surgery, because people are probably trying to bridge the gap between their real life self and their online self. And we've even heard plastic surgeons say that there's been a massive change in the kind of things that clients are coming in and saying when they go into their office seeking cosmetic procedures. Before, they used to come in with photos of celebrities and ask to be made to look more like the celebrities, whereas now we have people coming in with edited versions of themselves or edited photos of themselves.
Filters can do just about anything these days. In fact, they can completely change the way you look, and it's leading some people to trade filters for fillers.
I think smartphone technology in which people have selfie modes on their camera at all times can maybe make people become just a little too obsessed with their appearance.
Dr. Jay Lucas, a plastic surgeon, sees it all the time. He says people will even bring in photos of their filtered faces.
They will often show me a lot of different pictures of themselves, oftentimes through their phone.
This spike in young people rushing to nip, tuck, and plump is often referred to as Snapchat dysmorphia.
And this is a phenomenon that people first noticed in the 2010s, because at the time Snapchat was the only app that really allowed people to like change their faces with different filters, etc. And that was probably the beginning of people using these face altering filters to post their selfies, basically. If you remember, like there was that dog one, and then there was like the flowery like crown one that people had, and a lot of people, it just became normal for people to post pictures with these filters on their faces because people preferred the way they looked with the filter compared to just their normal photos. And I would say that that is probably where it all began, because Snapchat started it, and then after that all the other apps started doing the same thing. Like on TikTok as well, you can put these different filters on that will put makeup on your face or alter your appearance. And so I can see how, like, if you're constantly looking at an altered version of yourself, a version of yourself that maybe looks more ideal or looks more attractive, then eventually you might start wanting to see that version of yourself all the time.
I'll use Facetune to fix my nose and erase the bump or make my lips a little bit more plump. Ugh, this will do. I am really tired of editing my photos, and like my back hurts to some extent from doing all the editing, and I also get a lot of anxiety from it. I might as well get the real surgery to become the image that I really want to portray.
I also think that online there's a lot of intentional as well as unintentional promotion of plastic surgery. And what I mean by that is, like, there's a lot of accounts who post videos where they're like, this celebrity has had this done and this done and this done, and the aim, from what I can see, is basically to just try and make people feel better about the fact that they might not necessarily look like a public figure, because they're just reminding them that they've probably had help from a surgeon. However, I am skeptical about just how effective this content actually is at encouraging people to embrace their natural beauty. I think more likely for a lot of young women, what they hear is, oh, this person looks like this because they had this procedure. Okay, so that's the procedure I need to do to look like that. Because ultimately, for many people, they don't care how someone gets something, they care about the end result. And if they like the end result, then they're going to try and do it themselves. And I think that this is shown in the fact that regardless of how many videos we have now of people educating people about plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures, plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures, their popularity is still continuing to increase and rise. And so I do think essentially what happens is this content does unintentionally promote plastic surgery, which is why I'm extra suspicious when plastic surgeons make this kind of content. Like, you'll see a plastic surgeon posting a photo of a celebrity and they'll start speculating all the work they've had done.
Hailey Bieber claims to have never had any plastic surgery, but do we believe her? I'm not sure I'm a believer. I can say that I'm not totally convinced that Hailey Bieber has not had some plastic surgery, and I'm not picking on her. But looking at her photos, one thing that stands out literally is her nose. It looks stronger, the bridge looks more defined, she has more tip projection, more tip definition, the tip is slightly raised. So all of those are very suspicious for a rhinoplasty. So I'm thinking she's probably had one at some point, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of famous people and regular people have rhinoplasties. And secondly, when looking at her photos, I do notice a change in her overall facial shape. She has more jawline definition, she has a little more fullness in the cheek area, so I'm a little suspicious for some fillers in those areas. And then of course the lips magically got more full, and that doesn't happen on your own, so I'm also suspicious for some lip fillers. And then I do notice, it's not plastic surgery, but I noticed her eyebrows got fuller and thicker, so probably something like microblading of her eyebrows. In addition to the microblading of her eyebrows, looking at Hailey's just brow position, upper eyelids, I am actually a little suspicious on the speculation that she might have had some sort of brow lift. If it was, it would have been more like an endoscopic or smaller incisions because she's quite young. But when you look at her when she was younger, she had much heavier upper eyelids, didn't have as much brow show and shaping. And now she has much higher eyebrows. You can see more of the highlight of the brow bone, and you see more of her upper eyelid. And that doesn't just happen by simply reshaping the brow. So I am also slightly suspicious for some sort of brow lifting procedure.
And often they will compare a photo of them that's like two photos of them that's like 10 years apart. And they don't seem to account for the differences in makeup trends, like how different makeup techniques evolve over time, which will naturally change how your face looks if your makeup style is different. Also the fact that they're aging. When you get older, you tend to lose a lot of fat in like your cheeks, etc. So you could look more sculpted without necessarily having work done. Also, fluctuations in weight as well. Losing weight can have a drastic change, or gaining weight can have a drastic change on how your face looks. But people don't seem to consider that. It seems like they'll take two photos that are 10 years apart, and then if there's differences between them, they just automatically assume they've had some work done. And so that's why I'm extra suspicious when plastic surgeons do it, because to me it's like they're covertly trying to promote their services. And then there's also the intentional promotion of plastic surgery, where we've seen a lot of these influencers get a lot of free cosmetic work or discounted prices on their cosmetic work, as long as they promote where they've gotten it done and tell you, you know, this is the surgeon I went to, or this is where I had my work done. They'll encourage a lot of people by doing that.
Morning everyone, so day 2 of upper eyelid surgery. So yeah, still no pain at all. Haven't had to take any pain relief. I'm very, very swollen, but like I said in my last video, I am a proper sweller anyway. You can see this eye is quite small. Can't really see that much out of it today, but the swelling is starting to move down, which means it is going to start to drain from the top, which is good. So hopefully the next couple of days the swelling should go down a little bit, and then I'll be able to see a little bit better. But still, it's been so easy, no pain at all. Yeah, really, really surprised. I just can't wait for the swelling to go now so I can start to see the results a little bit. But I have got a discount code if anyone is interested. We went to the Signature Clinic in London. It's in Notting Hill area. And we had it done under local anaesthetic. But I have got a discount code, so if anyone is interested in having this done, then you can either drop me a message or I will link the discount code in my bio, and then that gets you £100 off, I think it is. But yeah, definitely recommend them. The whole sort of service and treatment was a lot better than I expected as well. So yeah, they were really, really nice. It was really quick. You're in and out in 20 minutes. It was like super quick, no pain at all. Even the injections to numb you up didn't hurt either. So yeah, if you're thinking about doing it, definitely go ahead and do it. It's a easy one.
Another reason why I think that a lot of young women are now getting more plastic surgery or more cosmetic procedures than before is because the attitude that we have towards plastic surgery has evolved a lot over time. It's no longer now just seen as a way to correct imperfections or to fix flaws. There are a lot of people now who get work done in order to match their desired aesthetic. And these are often just seen as tools for self-improvement or tools to enhance one's natural beauty, because many of them are opting for more subtle enhancements or subtle adjustments as opposed to drastic changes. I guess you could say that we've normalized plastic surgery so much to the point where many people don't actually see it as being a big deal anymore or something that's like drastic to do. Some people now just view it as another form of self-improvement, like going to the gym and altering your body that way or dyeing your hair. It's not really seen as like a really, really drastic thing in the way that it may have done previously, and probably because of these less invasive treatments that you can also have now. Like many other things today, when it comes to why some of these procedures are so popular is because they're very, very trendy. I honestly think that plastic surgery or cosmetic procedures are to Gen Z what tattoos and piercings were to millennials. Because with the millennials, they were like really into their piercings and their tattoos, and they had like these really trendy tattoos. For example, you saw a lot of millennial women with the infinity symbols, or they'd have like the moustache tattoos like on their fingers and stuff. Some of them had the dream catcher, I think it's called. Not only were the types of tattoos really popular, they also had very popular locations. So like you'd see a lot of women having tattoos on their wrists or on their neck or on their collarbone and all this kind of stuff. Like they were very popular tattoo locations. And then with the piercings as well, you saw a lot of them getting belly rings, you saw a lot of them getting like their helix pierced and all this kind of stuff. Like it was very, very trendy for millennials to get tattoos and piercings and to have certain types of tattoos and certain types of piercings or having them in specific locations. And so I do wonder if maybe plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures is that for Zoomers, you know, because so many of them are getting the same procedures, whether it's the BBLs or they're getting lip fillers and all this kind of stuff. So I do wonder if because it's become so trendy to have these particular things, these particular looks, that's maybe another driving force as to why so many of them want to do it, because they see so much of it. It is kind of risky always, to be fair, to do something because it's trendy, because just because it's trendy today does not mean it's going to be trendy tomorrow. Influencers have definitely played a really big role, I think, in the popularization of cosmetic procedures and plastic surgery because of just how open they are about the kind of stuff that they've had done. It's become a lot less stigmatized now, where people are just generally just going online and talking about all the things that they've done. It has just kind of lifted a lot of the stigma around it. On top of that, I think that because so many of them have had stuff done, it's normalized that look. A lot of them are going to have lip filler, a lot of them are going to have Botox, a lot of them are going to have all those kind of things. And so I think a lot of people are probably shaping their views of what they think is ideal based on what they're seeing on social media that is enhanced. And because these influencers are so open about it and they're so relatable for many people and they're so accessible, it kind of, when you see them talking about it, I think it does promote it a lot more, because you kind of view these influencers as like your online friend in a way. And so it does kind of take away the stigma from it. And it also does make you feel like, oh, well, if they can do it, I can do it, you know, because you don't have the same view of them in the way that you would with an unobtainable celebrity. The fear of aging is an undefeated fear among many, many women. And this also seems to be what's driving a lot of people to start having more cosmetic procedures. There's a very big idea that preventative procedures are the way to go.
At 24 years old, Madeline Levis has the type of youthful skin that many people want.
One more time.
And she's paying a lot of money now to keep.
I've been doing Botox for about 1.5 years now. Definitely like seeing a couple friends get it, or just seeing like my favorite celebrities or influencers get it. I kind of just wanted to see what that would look like for me.
On platforms like TikTok, there's plenty of inspo and encouragement.
Girls who get Botox in their 20s are winning, and here's why.
Preventative Botox is a way to get ahead of these signs of aging by doing Botox before they develop.
Jennifer Canisi is a nurse practitioner at Boston Medical Aesthetics near Faneuil Hall. She says the number of younger people asking for appointments has skyrocketed.
People realize how safe, natural looking, and effective it is.
Here's why it works. The medicine in a Botox injection prevents muscles from moving, and used correctly, it can smooth unwanted lines in the face with few side effects.
So those who might start preventative Botox before lines have started to develop, they can maintain smooth, useful skin for the long term. Once lines are deep, it's harder to soften them.
That's why Samantha Turek is here at age 23. She's been getting treatment since 19.
I go like every 4 to 5 months, or really whenever I start to see like the fine lines come in.
And so you've got a lot of people who have no desire to age naturally. Like, they have zero desire to age naturally. They want to make loads of alterations to their faces and stuff so that they can try and look as youthful as they can forever, pretty much. However, a lot of dermatologists and estheticians and, you know, have actually warned against doing this if you're too young, because it can actually have a detrimental effect on your face, especially if you do it when you're in your like early 20s, teens.
If you don't have wrinkles yet, it is too young to get Botox.
Dr. Abby Waldman is a dermatologist at Brigham and Women's Hospital and has her own TikTok account.
Today we're talking about the perfect skincare routine for your 20s.
I think the biggest thing that I see on social media or when patients come in is related to sort of this fear of missing out. They've been told if they don't get ahead of the problem, they're going to be behind.
But Dr. Waldman says that's not true. A Botox injection freezes muscles and smooths lines just the same whether you're 25 or 55. She even gets them herself.
It's really a waste of money and time if you get Botox before you really need it.
Your face evolves and changes as you age, and so it's harder to predict the results of how something's going to look on someone when they're still so young. So a lot of people do kind of advise against having all of this stuff like filler, Botox and all that kind of stuff when you're really, really young. It's especially filler, I think, is the main one that they advise you not to do when you're really young, because you don't know how it's going to look 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, and naturally as you age your face changes, so it's harder to predict what the results are going to look like and whether or not you're going to like them, and there's a chance that you might not, and so as a result you might end up finding yourself having even more work done to try and fix the things you did in the past. And we've also seen a lot of people online, for example, talking about how they regret some of the plastic surgery or some of the cosmetic procedures that they had done.
Right, girlies, I am seeing a trend of people talking about the work that they have done, and we all know I'm the queen. So when I seen people talking about it, I thought, it's my time to shine, girl. Tell your story. And I actually want to preface this video by saying I genuinely regret most of the work that I had done. And if I could go back in time, I would 100% trade my old body for my new one. I feel like at the time when obviously a lot of this work that I got done was a few years ago, and I feel like I've changed so much as a person since then. I think I definitely had a lot of very deep-rooted insecurities that I thought I could fix by getting work done, and obviously it ain't gonna fix them. Obviously I have veneers, really disappointed with my decision to do that. I was like maybe 19, could be a little bit off, but I was way too young to be making those decisions anyway. Obviously, looking at my jaw, looking at my teeth, I have a 12mm overbite, which is huge. And I just wanted a quick fix because as well as having the overbite, I had very prominent teeth and I used to get bullied for them. So yeah, wish I hadn't have done that. Wish now that I had got braces and done everything properly and I wouldn't have this fucked up jaw. But then the next thing, and the only thing that I'm like, kind of like, okay, I'm happy I had that done, is I had my ears pinned back. I actually had like super prominent ears, like they really stuck out. So this is something that I'm not like regretful of. This making me sweat talking about this. Then after that, I had my first BBL, which basically turned out to be a disaster. To put a very long story short, I got implants. And I could basically flip the implant inside of my bum because they put it above my muscle. Then after that, I kind of left it for a while and I got my boobs done. But I fully went into surgery asking for a lift, and implants, they didn't give me the lift. So I have a very bad case of pepperoni, you know? And on top of that, now because I have implants and I needed a lift in the first place, the pepperonis, they're facing the floor. So very regretful of that. Moving on, I then had to have my BBL corrected. So long story short, I went to a different surgeon in Spain and he had to take the implants out and we had to leave them out for 6 months. Kind of allow my body to heal. So then 6 months later, I actually went back, got the implants put back in and got like a whole other BBL done. And I was so happy for like the first 6 months. But now I would do anything to reverse it. Honestly, I feel like if you're meant to have a fat ass, God will bless you with one. And I sure as hell was not meant to have one. Because now I feel like it's kind of square and has lines and bumps that shouldn't be there. So because of my insecurity about how it looked, I then went and got BBL filler. And it nearly unalived me, was in hospital for weeks and got cellulitis. But that is a story for a whole other story time. But yeah, I wanted to make this video to share. I have had so much work done and every single one of them, almost, I would reverse if I could. I feel like there's such a pressure put on females to be perfect, when in reality, that's not attainable.
Often, there's a correlation between how young they started and whether or not they're more likely to regret it. I tend to find that those who started really young tend to have more regrets in terms of what they've done compared to those who started a bit later. And I think that makes sense, right? I think people regretting choices they made when they were younger is kind of like a standard part of the human experience. And so I'm pretty sure if people can regret tattoos that they had when they were younger, then people are going to naturally regret plastic surgery or cosmetic procedures that they've had done when they were younger, because they likely didn't have all the information or they didn't really care about the risks or the potential consequences at the time. Because I feel like when you're young, you kind of just don't really think too much about the future, or the distant future at least. And so, you know, they probably didn't think about a lot of this stuff moving forward, and now they're older and they have a bit more perspective, they're probably regretting it. Or maybe they did something that was trendy for the time, but now they don't like the way it is or the way it looks, because it's just no longer like where they're at in their life in terms of what they want to look like and what they want to be or whatever. So it makes sense as to why people would regret it. But I do think that there is a risk with this whole preventative cosmetic procedure approach, because if you're doing it as a prevention, then likelihood is you're going to start really early. The whole having plastic surgery thing to try and avoid aging is quite an interesting one though, because I've seen a lot of videos of people saying like, why does Gen Z look so old? Like why do they all look so old? You know, and people will point to people like Kylie Jenner, for example, because Kylie Jenner when she was 17 looked like she was like 25 because of like all the stuff that she has had done. And I've always wondered, like, is it that these celebrities look older, or these women in general look older because they've had work done? Or is it more so that because for such a long time we were used to middle-aged women having these procedures, is it more so that we became so used to that look on older women that now when we see younger women sporting a very similar look because they've also had a lot of work done, that it now makes them look old to us? You know, it's kind of like if you saw a young woman sporting a hairstyle that looks like one of the characters from the Golden Girls, you would likely say that that hairstyle has aged her because you associate it with older women. So is it the case that the plastic surgery is what's made them look older, or is it more so that because we associate that look with older women, that's why we think they look older? I'm not actually sure. I think definitely the biggest influence on why a lot of young women in particular are having so much plastic surgery nowadays is because it's way more accessible and way more affordable than it ever has been. Because of that, it's definitely made it more accessible for people to do. So it could be the case that people would have always behaved like this if they had the ability to do it, especially now that we're seeing way more cosmetic surgery tourism, where if you don't like the prices in your own country, many people are now flying to other parts of the world. Like Turkey is a very, very popular one. People are flying over there to get their procedures done for a much, much lower price. That to me is terrifying. The idea of like flying to a completely different country where I don't speak the language and having people cut up my face is outrageous. But a lot of people do it, and it's become such a norm now that you even have like cosmetic surgery spa like resorts there where people will go there, they'll have their plastic surgery done, they'll kind of stay in the hotel and like while they're like healing a little bit and stuff before they go back home, etc. It's like a whole experience now. On top of that, many like hospitals or practices have payment plans now, so even if you are struggling to pay for it all in one lump sum, you can pay for it on a monthly installment. They also have options for you to have walk-in appointments in some places where you don't even necessarily have to book an appointment. You can just walk in and have these cosmetic procedures done then and there. So because of that, it's just made it so much easier to get it done, and so naturally, what can you expect other than for more and more people to do it? It is really interesting to see Gen Z's approach to beauty standards, or I prefer to call them beauty ideals, because they're not really standards, are they? Because standard kind of implies that like that's what everyone is expected to be, or what everyone is. Like that's kind of like the standard is the norm, but that's often not what people mean when they're talking about beauty standards. What they actually mean is like what people aspire to be or what people aspire for. So that would make it an ideal rather than the standard. But anyway, that's just me being pedantic. As I was saying, I think it is really interesting to see how Gen Z's beauty ideals are so different to, say, millennials, for example, who were more about like heavy contour and highlight, drastic transformations with makeup, like way more caked, I would say. I'd say millennials were way more caked in terms of makeup compared to like Zoomers. They seem to care more about skincare than they care about actual makeup, which I actually think is probably connected. It seems more like Gen Z want to look as good as they can without makeup. Like they kind of want to aspire for a natural but enhanced look. So that's probably the reason why they gravitate more towards skincare, because it allows them to kind of improve their skin and improve their like how they look naturally without any makeup. And in a similar way, cosmetic procedures or plastic surgery allows them to alter their faces in a way where they can also look better naturally, if that makes sense, because they can look better in a way that's not dependent on makeup. So it seems like Gen Z are more motivated to just like be able to just wake up ready, you know, they just want to wake up and look good already, and so they invest more time and energy into skincare and sunscreen and also like cosmetic procedures and stuff, because they just want to wake up ready. They want to go down more natural, like more chilled makeup look with like maybe a bit of touch-ups here and there with some cosmetic procedures or plastic surgery, and better skin with skincare. And I know that sounds mad because it's like, but cosmetic procedures, plastic surgery, that's way more intense. Yes, but it's like one time intense compared to makeup where you have to do that every day. Like if you have a cosmetic procedure, like that's kind of it. You do that once and then that's it. And so I can see why some might see having these things done as a way to become their best self or a better version of themselves, so that they can feel more confident and feel a lot less insecure about themselves and how they carry themselves in the world. Which makes a lot of sense, because as much as we like to deny it, how you look, it definitely has a big impact on how you're treated in the world, both online and offline. It can open opportunities for you. It can also make you feel more confident, and if you're more confident, then you're going to present yourself or carry yourself in a certain way that tends to be more attractive to people. Some of these trendy procedures are very dangerous, such as the BBL, for example, which is extremely popular online, and you see a lot of people still having it, even though it's got one of the highest mortality rates out of all of the plastic surgeries that exist. But despite this, it's still very, very popular. There is a lot to consider about plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures, because it definitely can be addictive. I don't think many of the people who we see and look at and think, oh, they look a bit strange, I don't think that they even think they look unusual. I don't think to them they can even see it, because they do say that when you make changes to your face or when you make changes to your body in whatever way, you just become used to it after a while. It just becomes your new normal. And so you don't really see you don't see yourself through other people's eyes in general, like regardless of whether you have work done or not. It's hard for us to really see ourselves in the way that other people do. And so you can see how it can become addictive for you to have something done. You probably feel a buzz, a massive dopamine rush, because you know you're so excited with the results. After a while, you become used to it. It's no longer exciting anymore because it's now your new normal. So you might start looking for other things to fix, and then you start fixing those. You get excited. Then afterwards, again, becomes your new normal. You start looking for other things to fix, and it can be very, very addictive for that reason. I also wonder what the ethics of this are for the people who may have mental health issues, such as like body dysmorphia, for example, because those people are constantly looking for something to fix and constantly looking to be better because they don't see themselves in a positive way. And I often wonder that when I see someone who's had loads and loads and loads of work done, I do wonder if maybe there could be like a body dysmorphia type of situation that's influencing that. And if that is the case for some of these people, then how ethical really is it to be performing these procedures on them? Because isn't it basically exploiting mental health problem? And this also just raises the question of the free market. You know, like, should the free market have limitations? I personally think it should. I don't think you should be able to have whatever you want whenever you want just because you can pay for it. I think that when it comes to certain things like plastic surgery, for example, that's basically the kind of time we're living in now. If you want it, you can have it. There's no evaluation, there's no like anything like that. It's just if you want it, you can have it. And I do wonder how ethical that is, because as I said, for some people it could be motivated by psychological issues. I personally am not against plastic surgery. I think, you know, do you. But I do think that there does come a risk with chasing perfection and doing too much to your face, to the point where it does start to get to a point where it's a bit uncanny valley looking, where you just, I don't know, it's just, it gets a bit weird, because there are some people who've had plastic surgery or cosmetic procedures and they look fantastic, and I honestly, you know, they do. I know it sounds bad to say to people that they look better after they've had work done, but generally some people do look better after they've had some work done, and that's probably seen as a bad thing to say, but it's just the truth. And that's why I don't really have a lot of judgment for people who do have stuff done, but I do think that there is levels to it. Like, I think you shouldn't do too much, because there is a point where it starts to get very strange. But other than that, I think there is nothing wrong with, you know, someone having like something here and there, or having like a procedure or two or whatever, if, you know, if it's going to make them feel better, provided they are going to stop, you know, and don't become addicted to it, and provided they're not trying to compensate for psychological issues that might be going on, then I don't think it necessarily has to be a bad thing. I don't think it has to be all in or nothing. You don't have to be completely against plastic surgery or completely in support of it, because I would say that I don't see anything wrong with it in moderation, and I definitely would say I'm accepting of it with limitations, if that makes sense. But those are just my thoughts on this topic. Do let me know what you think though. Do you think that we are getting a little bit too comfortable with plastic surgery? What do you think about this rise in young people having cosmetic procedures? And do you think it's a bad thing that this rise is even happening, or do you think it's not a big deal? Do let me know in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, you may as well like and subscribe. Thank you so much for giving me your time today, and I will see you in my next video.